Alongside Final Fantasy XV, two other media properties were released. Brotherhood Final Fantasy XV, a short anime miniseries focusing on the backstories of the various characters of Final Fantasy XV, and also Kingsglaive Final Fantasy XV, which is a movie based upon some of the supporting characters in Final Fantasy XV. Kingsglaive is an interesting film in that I would say it's probably not going to be that interesting or that good to someone who has no interest in Final Fantasy XV itself. I would say if you are heavily invested in Final Fantasy XV, the story of it, maybe Final Fantasy as a franchise itself, a lot of the themes and stuff, you'll enjoy Kingsglaive. But I gotta imagine someone who's like unfamiliar with, Final Fantasy concepts or characters would be thrust into this and just be like, what the fuck is going on here? Because there is a lot of shit that's just tossed out, and it's just like, whoa, fuck. And another one of the interesting things about this movie is that it's about 2 hours long. The movie opens up with maybe a 5 to 10 minute action scene, and then there is a gigantic middle part, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes, which is just set up for Final Fantasy XV itself, a lot of the characters, and setting up the events and the climax of the film. And then the final 30 to 35 minutes is just a fucking all-out gangbang action brawl. And it is very visually impressive for sure, but there is a large chunk in the middle with just exposition, essentially. Now I'll go over the characters of the film. First, we have Nix Ulrich, who is a part of a contingent of guards called the Kingsglaive, which is, the title of the film. And these are all, I guess, it appears to be outcast soldiers or refugees that are not originally from Insomnia, which is the big, awesome city that the movie takes place in. And these soldiers are able to use magic and special abilities coming and based directly from the king himself. Regis, played by Sean Bean, which is just hilarious. I mean, as soon as it's revealed, I remember when the news came out about Kingsglaive and, they were talking about some of the details and, Sean Bean would be playing the voice actor. And it's like, wait a minute. Sean Bean, the guy who is famous for dying in, every single role he does. And sure enough, it is no different here in Kingsglaive. It's just, why? At this point, I feel like moving forward, you can't really cast Sean Bean unless he's not going to die in the movie, because everyone is just instantly, oh, he's dead. But at the same time, I almost feel like people would be incredibly disappointed now if there's any project in which Sean Bean does not die, because it's almost like a meme at this point, for real. Then we have Luna Freya, who herself is a very, very important character in Final Fantasy XV, as she is more or less in an arranged marriage to Noctis, who is the main character of Final Fantasy XV. And that basically serves as the primary setup, as early in the film, Insomnia, which is at war with the Empire of Niflheim. Of course, it's this is just like a story archetype that I feel like always works, and people always go back to it, of having the vast evil empire just sweeping the land, poisoning everything and taking control, merciless and powerful. And then you have a resistance or a smaller force fighting back against all odds. I mean, go back to Star Wars, and that's just something we're going to see time and time again. And I would have to say, for the most part, it always does work. Now, I will say, going into the movie, I did not realize Luna Freya would have as big as a presence as she does, as she basically is the main focal point of the entire film, with early on the peace treaty being offered to Insomnia/Lucis. And one of the carrots of this is that Noctis would have to marry Luna Freya. And so Luna Freya is brought to the city, and then a lot of the events of the climax of the film involve basically trying to get Luna Freya out of the damn city, as fucking chaos and monsters. Big ass references to previous Final Fantasy games are just blowing the city up, crushing it, turning it into dust. And like Luna Freya is trying to be escorted out of the city. It does get very exciting once we move towards that section of the film. We also have Emperor Aldercapt, who is the leader of Niflheim. He is in the film for quite a bit, but he doesn't have as much of a presence as some of the other characters, as basically the main antagonist of the film is not the Emperor himself, but a powerful fighter who works for him. Also, we have Arden, who is the Chancellor of Niflheim, and I know he will play a central role in Final Fantasy 15. He's here. He doesn't do that much, but he is the one who offers the treaty to Lucius at the beginning of the film. Also, there's another character, Ravis, who is Luna Freya's older brother, and he was the former prince of Tenebrae. That's where Luna Freya and himself are from. That was taken over by Niflheim 12 years prior. Ravis and Luna Freya's mother, Queen Sylvia, is killed by who turns out to be the primary antagonist of the film, General Glocca, who is like basically the commander of the Niflheim military, and he is a pretty fucking badass. He's essentially like Cecil from Final Fantasy IV, like a Dark Knight type character. We also have Libertas, who is Nyx's childhood friend, and he's another member of the Kingsglaive, and he helps out at various points. He's also a really bitchy and annoying character, but whatever. And then finally we have Dratos, who is a commander of the Kingsglaive, but as it turns out, he is actually General Glocca, the commander of the Niflheim military. That was kind of a weird twist when it's revealed that it's him. It's like, whoa, wait, what the fuck? So this dude is like the leader of both both armies? Like, that is a little... I certainly didn't see that coming, but that's pretty interesting. Now, of course, I mentioned it, but the structure of the film basically goes like this. There's an opening battle in which the Empire has a decisive advantage, but they do a retreat, which kind of baffles Lucius. And then the Chancellor of Niflheim approaches offering a treaty. Then we have the large portion of the film where there's preparations for the treaty to be signed. We see all of the Emperor, the Chancellor, all of the high-ranking members of the Empire, along with Luna Freya, who is essentially the Empire's hostage, all come to the city, tons of preparations, and then, it's basically revealed that it's a trap. Niflheim plans to invade. Obviously, it certainly was not surprising when it's... Wait, the evil Empire doesn't actually want peace? Mazaka! Can't be! And then the final sequence, which is just crazy. There's battles on airships. Ultros from Final Fantasy VI makes an appearance, which it is weird having a giant octopus in the sky in airships, which most definitely is a reference to the midway point of Final Fantasy VI, where you battle Ultros on an airship. I mean, there's no conceivable way that's not what they were going for. A callback to that moment where it's like, it always was a thing where it's like, why the fuck is there an octopus 1,000,000 miles above the ground fighting us on an airship? And here in Kingsglaive, they're like, you know what? We're going to double down on that. Again, why is there a fucking giant monster octopus way up here on this airship? Fuck you, it's cool, that's why. Also, Diamond Weapon from Final Fantasy VII makes an appearance. But not just one appearance, there's like fucking 10 of these motherfuckers. You see one early on in the film, but it's mostly covered in shadow. If you know Final Fantasy VII and know, what this monster is, you instantly recognize it. But if you don't, then you don't really get a good look at it till the climax of the film, where like 10 of these motherfuckers come down to basically raze the city to the ground. In the meantime, there's tons of skirmishes that take place during the ending. I'll mainly talk about that because honestly, it's one of these things where like a lot of the film, it is just set up for the game itself. I mean, this character Nyx, who I'll talk about some more, who is really badass, obviously I don't believe he's going to have much of a presence in Final Fantasy 15 itself, but he was very badass during this film. And of course, one of the key moments was the battle between the Dark Knight General of Niflheim and King Regis. But of course, we don't really get to see Regis's full power. The kings are able to summon like this big army of swords basically flying all over and using powerful magic. But Regis at this point is so old and decrepit from, maintaining the wall protecting the city of Insomnia. This is the reason why Insomnia has not fallen, despite the overwhelming might of the Empire, is that the king is able to project like this giant wall which protects the city. Now, the general does kill the king, which is, it's a pretty good scene because you see he gives this ring to Lunafreya, and her job is to deliver that to Noctis. It is very important, and he sort of sacrifices himself to allow Lunafreya and Nyx to kind of escort her and get out of the castle and try and get out of the city, even though it's being razed by all of this crazy monstrosities and all this bullshit all over the place. After the king's death, most of the movie does focus on this character of Nyx, who is refugee who is brought into the city, and he has a special affinity using the king's magic, and he's able to do warp strikes similar to Noctis from Final Fantasy 15, a lot of things such as that. And we really get to see his heroic nature as he's just doing everything he possibly can to make sure that Lunafreya is able to escape from the city unharmed and able to eventually meet up with Noctis in the future. And eventually, during the course of this, we see an epic, crazy climactic battle between Nyx and then the, Dark Knight General, who at this point is revealed to have been Nyx's commander, Dratos. Nyx and Lunafreya are essentially cornered, and what Nyx does is he puts on the Ring of Lucius, which basically, it's like the old gods from Mortal Kombat or something, where you put this ring on and like there's these supposedly the past kings of Lucius, and if they deem you worthy, they can give you like crazy untold powers. And Nyx basically revealing that he just wants to basically protect Lunafreya, help look towards the future. He doesn't necessarily care about his own well-being or if he dies, because these old gods, as soon as Nyx puts the ring on, they are prepared to kill him because Nyx is not of royal blood. But seeing his resolve, they decide to grant him their power, although he is going to die at sunup. After he receives the power of the ring, that's when we have this crazy fucking monster battle between Nyx and the Dark General. And we're talking like diamond weapons are being dropped into the city, and like Nyx and the Dark Knight, they're like jumping on diamond weapons and like attacking each other and falling down. And then another thing the ring does is there's numerous statues around the city of Insomnia, which are revealed to be the old wall, which is, also like protectors, and they're awoken by Nyx using the ring. And so like they're like giant, kaiju Godzilla type monsters battling all these diamond weapons all over. Buildings are being destroyed, diamond weapons are shooting their like laser attacks everywhere, and then Nyx and this Dark Knight, they're like flying all over, shooting magic at each other. Like the shit just gets fucking nuts. It's akin to like the ending of one of those Transformer movies where like buildings are being destroyed, there's explosions, and it's just like, what the fuck is going on? This shit is crazy. Their battle goes on for maybe 10 plus minutes, and then right at the actual finale of the film, Nyx is able to use his warp strike to basically take the Dark Knight down. But of course, as sun is now coming up, it's morning, and Nyx fades away, and he says, not a bad way to die, but he was heroic. Basically, him distracting the Dark Knight allowed Lunafreya to make it out of the city so that she can move on to the events of Final Fantasy 15 and deliver the ring to Noctis. Then we see in an after credits scene, we see Noctis, Ignis, Gladios, and Prompto, and their car breaks down, directly leading into the beginning of Final Fantasy 15 itself. All in all, I'd say it's a solid film. It does appear to go on a little too long, and especially when, it is one of these movies where all that really mattered, I guess, is the action. So you have the little short scene at the beginning, and then the climax of the film. outside of that, it is just a lot of dragging on, setting up of these characters who don't make it into Final Fantasy 15, as all of the Kingsglaive is killed except for Libertas, but like I don't even know if he's going to move on into Final Fantasy 15, possibly, but all the rest of this unit were wiped out. Most of the characters in this movie die outside of Luna Freya herself, and of course the Chancellor and Emperor of the Empire. So I guess basically, if you like Final Fantasy 15, and if you like Final Fantasy, then the movie is an interesting watch. It's not great, but it's okay. But if you're not into Final Fantasy, then this movie would fucking probably suck for you. Maybe the action scenes would be a little cool, but there would just be so much time of what the fuck is going on? Who is this character? What are these terms being thrown out? Do I care? Should I care? There would be a lot of thoughts like that. Myself, I thought it was okay, although I would say that the film probably would have been improved with more of a presence of Noctis in it, but, you know, they chose to do what they chose to do. It's fine. Tell me what you guys think. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Was the big middle part with not a lot going on too much? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today, though. Later!